Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a full slate of Atlanta Hawks updates to cover, from a brand new official signing to a finalized roster for the 2025-26 season, plus some NBA 2K ratings talk, and even a look at a potential budding rivalry in the Eastern Conference. This episode is going to keep you informed on everything you need to know heading into the new season. So let's start with the Hawks' newest confirmed addition, a young forward who could bring some much needed shooting depth to this roster, who certainly struggled with shooting last year, but there's been a major emphasis on getting some reliable outside shooters this offseason, and they've certainly done that. And this final roster move of the offseason is also following that trend. So after weeks of speculation, there was a reported signing, but nothing came official up until yesterday. It is finally official now. The Atlanta Hawks have signed Caleb Houstan, the former Orlando Magic forward, who is a sharpshooter from the outside. Like I said, while this move was reported nearly a month ago, the team formally announced it just yesterday, making Houstan the latest addition to an already reshaped Atlanta Hawks roster. Now, for those unfamiliar, Houstan, who comes over from the Orlando Magic, a division rival, where he appeared in 58 games last season, starting in 6 of them. Not a whole lot of starting action, and he certainly shouldn't have to start any games for the Atlanta Hawks this season, unless there are obviously injuries, but that should not be something you see a whole lot. He averaged 4.1 points and 1.3 rebounds across about 14 minutes per game. Certainly not a lot of action, but the sample size is solid, and we saw what we needed to see out of him over the past 2 years to know that he's going to be a quality NBA player one day. He shot 42% from the field, 40% from deep, and 88% at the line. The eye-popping stat, though, and that I guess really made Atlanta interested in Houstan in the first place, was that after the All-Star break, Caleb Houstan became one of the most efficient three-point shooters in the entire league. It's something about post-All-Star break. Some of these shooters really just light it up. We saw it with Zach Langley even last year. He shot over 40% from deep after the All-Star break, showcasing that he can be a reliable shooter in today's NBA. Houstan did the same. Houstan hit over 50% from beyond the arc, which was the second highest clip in the NBA among all players with at least 35 makes during that stretch. That right there is elite efficiency in a league obsessed with spacing and an Atlanta Hawks team that is certainly prioritizing spacing. I mean, on March 14th against Minnesota, Houstan put together his best game of the season. 18 points, 6 made threes, and 4 steals in just 27 minutes. I mean, really affecting the game on both sides of the ball. A real two-way threat. We love to see that. I mean, it was a glimpse into the kind of high-impact role he could carve out with consistent playing time. Injuries happen, and this is a thing that happens in the NBA, and especially in Atlanta. We've had some horrible injury luck in the past few seasons, but Houstan is a guy who is ready to go. I mean, he's ready to play. This is a guy that's expected to make that kind of a fourth-year leap. He played at Michigan with Kobe Buffkin, so there's already some second-unit chemistry there. But Houstan is still just 22 years old. He's a 6'8" frame that gives Atlanta size and versatility at the wing spot, something an NBA team can never use enough of. Orlando. Sorry, I'm confusing the last name with the city. Orlando drafted him 32nd overall in 2022, but after 3 seasons, they decided to let him walk. This was certainly surprising for a franchise that has long struggled with outside shooting. The new look Magic that are expected to be at the top of the Eastern Conference this upcoming season, they certainly still struggle from beyond the arc. They're led by Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, but also Jalen Suggs and Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, some solid shooters, but they don't really have an outstanding shooter. Now, Desmond Bane is obviously a very important addition, and he's going to fit in great there and be that shooter. But just letting a shooter like that walk when your 2 stars on your team aren't shooters in the least is certainly a decision. For Atlanta, this is a low risk, high upside signing. Houstan actually joins Luke Kennard and Kristaps Porzingis as the team's designated sharpshooters on short term deals. All 3 of those guys are just on 1-year contracts, so it's a bit of a risk for Atlanta to have all these guys on 1-year contracts, but 1-year deals mean flexibility. We talked about that last episode. So expect Houstan to slot in as that third small forward on the depth chart behind Vit Krejci, with Nickeil Alexander-Walker also absorbing minutes at the 3 when needed, maybe even a guy like Dyson Daniels. That's just how it's going to appear on the official depth chart, but we really play positionless basketball. All NBA teams do nowadays, so that's certainly something to watch out for. And here's a fun fact. Caleb Houstan is currently the tallest active player in the NBA who has never recorded a dunk in a regular season game. He has no NBA career dunks. With how fast this Hawks team likes to push the tempo, And it may look a little different this year with obviously Kristaps Porzingis being added. I wouldn't be surprised if that changes early in the year. Keep an eye out for Caleb Houstan's first career dunk. Maybe it could even come off of a Trae Young lob and transition sooner than later. We've got two guys actually on the team that have never dunked in the NBA. It's Trae and Caleb Houstan. Trae's certainly not one of the guys that's listed as a taller active player, but nonetheless he still has not dunked. So maybe we'll get both of those this year. So now with the Houstan deal now officially, put pen to paper. Houstan is on the roster. The Atlanta Hawks roster for the 2025-26 season is complete. So let's run through, I guess, the depth chart, kind of the roster. I mean, this isn't the official depth chart by any means, but this is how the roster is going to look. So at guard, we've got Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Vit Krejci, Luke Kennard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kobe Buffkin, and Nikola Jurisic. At the forward position, we've got Zachary Risachet, Jalen Johnson, Asa Newell, Mohamed Gay, and Caleb Houstan. At the center position, the big man, Onyeka Okongwu, Kristaps Porzingis, and N'Faly Dante. So those are the 15 guys on the main ball club, but we've got 3 two-ways. You can have maximum 3 two-ways, so Atlanta already has those filled. They've had those filled for quite some time, but it's Ellie Njai, Jacob Toppin, and Keaton Wallace, all guys that could probably contribute if they play at actual NBA minutes. So it's a loaded roster. I mean, looking at this team from top to bottom, it's arguably the deepest and most versatile group Trae Young has ever had around him. I would actually scratch that arguably. It is the deepest and most versatile group Trae Young has ever had around him. It is certainly the most talented. There's elite outside shooting. There's strong defensive length on the wings. Some real good defensive playmakers in Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Also some multiple rim protectors, Kristaps Porzingis and Onyeka Okongwu, and of course plenty of playmaking between Trae and Dyson and Jalen and really even Vit. The Hawks not only filled holes, they improved drastically at nearly every position except for maybe like point guard, but even then Luke Kennard and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are going to give us some backup point guard minutes, so you can't really say too much or judge too much based on that. I mean, between Risachet's upside, Porzingis' stretch 5 capabilities, and solid veteran role players like Luke Kennard and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, this team is certainly balanced and dangerous. It's good to see this roster, finalized. These are the guys we are going to see suit up for our Atlanta Hawks in the 2025-26 season. So to me, this is easily the most improved roster in the entire NBA. Definitely one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and one that, it should put Atlanta squarely in the mix for the top of the conference. But for now, it is up to Trae Young and Quinn Snyder and company to put it all together and win at a high level finally. The excuses are gone other than health. That is still a very valid excuse for not being as good as, one would expect. But on paper, the excuses are gone. This team is ready to win, maybe even a championship. I'm not going to give them those expectations yet, but this is a team that should compete and be near the top of the Eastern Conference. So switching gears for just a moment, let's talk NBA 2K. We talked NBA 2K a couple episodes ago, and with NBA 2K26 right around the corner, the player ratings are slowly being revealed. They're going in chronological order from lowest to highest overall. So, and as always, fans have plenty of opinions, and I certainly have my own opinions on the ratings that we've gotten so far. Some of them have been pretty rough. The Hawks have been getting disrespected, to say the least, in the ratings that have been revealed so far. There's been some controversy already. Jalen Johnson last year, who probably would have been an all-star if he didn't get hurt and go down with that season-ending injury. He is an 81 overall. He's lower than Cooper Flagg. Very ridiculous. Dyson Daniels is at an 83, 2 overalls down from last year, which makes no sense. He won Most Improved Player and was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Kristaps Porzingis is an 85. That's a bit more fair, but I still think it's a little low. Some fans feel like these ratings undersell what those players bring to the table. I know I certainly do. But that had many people thinking that Hawks superstar guard Trae Young would also get slighted. Surprisingly, that wasn't the case. Trae actually got some respect. Just yesterday, 2K revealed its tier of players ranked 30 through 21, and Trae actually landed with a 90 overall, placing him as the 23rd best player in the NBA. Now, do I think Trae Young is better than the 23rd best player in the NBA? Yes, but Trae is no longer in the 80 club. In the past two 2K games, he has been an 89. They finally gave him that 90 overall, which it's good to see. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, but it is good to see. It is a just one up rating, but nonetheless, I mean, that rating does put him ahead of names like Paolo Banchero, Pascal Siakam, who was just in the NBA Finals last year, James Harden, and Bam Adebayo, all guys that have been higher than Trey and other 2Ks. Now, does that feel fair to you? I mean, should Trey be higher, maybe closer to the top 20, or do you think 2K actually got this one right? And also, do y'all think Trey should be lower? That certainly shouldn't be a popular opinion, but I do want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments below. Because if you ask me, a 90 overall is respectable for a player like Trey, but his playmaking and offensive engine role might deserve even more recognition than he's gotten. He's got a big opportunity to prove himself this year if he can put up great stats and really focus on that efficiency this year and making smarter decisions on and off the ball. Maybe he'll get a little more respect and hit that 92, 93 range next 2K. So now let's kind of look ahead into the season and focus on one specific matchup. And really, they're going to play each other several times, but the first matchup between the two actually comes pretty early in the season, and it has all of the makings of a new Eastern Conference rivalry, just considering the position both organizations are in. Hawks versus Pistons. Both Atlanta and Detroit are being talked about as rising contenders in the wide-open Eastern Conference, and both rosters are loaded with young stars. That's not to be said lightly. Last year, Detroit did dominate the season series. That certainly wasn't too good. They killed Atlanta in some of the matchups that they played. They won 3 out of the 4 matchups between the two, and doing so by narrow margins, though, which made the losses sting even more. That head-to-head difference really played a major role in Atlanta ending up in the play-in, while Detroit secured that 6th seed and pushed the Knicks in a tough playoff series that, honestly, they probably should have won. They got screwed in a couple of those games by the refs. I mean, trying to watch it with an unbiased perspective, I really couldn't. Pistons probably deserved that series a little bit more, but nonetheless, Pistons were in the playoffs, Hawks weren't, and a lot of that was due to the head-to-head matchups. This year, the first Hawks-Pistons clash is set for November 18th in Atlanta, and it's nationally televised, so a lot of eyes are going to be on it, and that's a statement game for both teams early in the season. So, here's what's going to matter most. I mean, both squads ranked in the top 10 in pace last year. The Hawks' addition of Kristaps Porzingis could accelerate their transition attack. But it's Kristaps Porzingis. You never really know what you're getting out of him. But you do know you're getting elite 3-point shooting. That doesn't really affect the pace. But nonetheless, while Cade Cunningham is, he's leading a Detroit offense that thrives on the open floor. So really, tempo is probably the most important thing. Just thinking of the matchup between the Hawks and the Pistons, whoever controls that will likely win. I mean, it really comes down to that. Another thing that's really important and where Atlanta seriously has the advantage over Detroit, especially heading into the 2025-26 season, is spacing. I mean, Detroit has long struggled to space the floor around Cade Cunningham. Last year was their best year doing it, and you all saw what happened. They made the playoffs. They made a real leap in terms of their record. But now Malik Beasley is likely not returning to their team because there were some gambling issues there, and so they have yet to re-sign him on a contract, but I mean their roster really, their starting lineup consists of non-shooters like Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren, players that you don't really want to surround your superstar Cade Cunningham with, because Cunningham, while he is great, he doesn't really thrive from the outside. He's a decent shooter, but he doesn't thrive there. He attacks downhill and he tries to get to his spots in the mid-range, and so surrounding him with non-spacers is not the best option. Meanwhile, Atlanta has stacked its roster with shooters in Kristaps Porzingis and Luke Kennard and Caleb Houston, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, all these guys. And I mean, if Okongwu and Jalen Johnson continue to expand their range, the Pistons seriously could struggle to keep up. I'm expecting another 3-point lead, especially out of Onyeka Okongwu. And I guess another big thing in the Hawks-Pistons matchup is how they defend Cade Cunningham. I mean, this is where the Hawks' new defensive depth really comes in. Expect Quinn to use Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Porzingis heavily in schemes to force the ball out of Cade's hands while keeping Trey out of difficult switches. You don't want to. That's not a good matchup for Trey, but he can rip the ball if needed. So if you love fast-paced basketball with playoff-level intensity, circle November 18th on your calendar. Hawks versus Pistons might just become the next must-watch rivalry in the East. I think all of those games are going to be super intense, and they're going to be very high stakes. These might be 2 of top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference next season. That's not an exaggeration. So to recap today's video, the Hawks made the Caleb Houston signing official. He's officially an Atlanta Hawk, and the roster is now set heading into the 2025-26 season. Trae Young has received a 90 overall rating in NBA 2K26, and we could be on the verge of seeing a new Eastern Conference rivalry take shape with Detroit. This is a pivotal year for the Atlanta Hawks. The talent is here. The roster is deep, and the East is wide open. The question now is, can this team finally put it together and make a real run, maybe even to the NBA Finals? Thank you guys for watching today's episode of Hawks Latest. I'm Zach Langley. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on the channel. We're going to be giving you guys daily updates on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. So once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.